All right. I think we've got everybody through the door and at least partially connected to audio and video. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alexis Gossick. I'm with the Technology Council of Central PA. Thank you very much for carving time out of what is surely a very busy morning for everybody to join us for today's tech session with Jamison Rotz with Nearly Human. We have a huge group with us this morning, and it's wonderful to see. We're going to ask for introductions via the chat. If you wouldn't mind dropping your name, your role, and what company you're representing today into the chat so that everybody else can kind of see who's on the call and what lens they're coming from, that would be fantastic. Allow an opportunity for people to connect if they so desire. But with the large group, we want to make sure that we're providing Jamison the full or nearly full half hour to give us the good word that he has to share with us. Do want to give a shout out to our investors that are present with us on today's call: Engine, Principal Financial, Capital Blue Cross, Select Medical, Cargus Systems, McConnelly and Asbury, Members First Federal Credit Union, and Penn National Insurance. We have a tremendous showing of investors today on today's call. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your investment in the Technology Council of Central PA. You are the reason that we can continue to do wonderful things like this. Without further ado, you guys didn't come to hear me talk this morning. I'm going to turn it over to Jamison. Jamison, please take us away.
All right. Thank you so much, Alexis. Can everybody see my screen? Excellent. All right. Well, my name is Jamison Rotz. I see some familiar faces out there and some folks that I don't know. So it's a pleasure to be here this morning and a pleasure to meet all of you who I haven't met before. And I'm looking forward to getting to talk with you guys. So today, I just want to take us through. Obviously, AI has been a huge topic over the past year and several months since the release of ChatGPT. And to give a little bit of background, what I want to do today is talk a little bit about the capability that's coming to the enterprise, because that's really where I see like the excitement and the opportunity in 2024. So a little bit about me. I am the founder and CEO of Nearly Human. We've been in business for 13 years, almost 13 years now. And we've been in the natural language processing space for the last 10. So we have seen a lot happen. And this is an exciting time for us as a company, because we truly understood the fundamental shift and the capability leap that we took when ChatGPT came out, because we've been in the thick of this, working in natural language and automation. Seeing this come out has opened up an enormous number of high value use cases that, quite honestly, the tech just wasn't ready for before then. So we have worked. You can see some of the clients that we've worked with so far, and we actually in 2020 we actually won an award for AI implementation using a mixture of community and custom algorithms before we got into the generative space. So, like I said, we've learned a lot, but now we can like truly see what the value is. So to start off, I'll take us through just like a brief history, because I think that this kind of like talks a little bit about where we've come from and how we got to where we are, where I see us in first quarter 2024. And then I'm going to jump right into some software, because I'd much rather like show you guys some of the capabilities, food for thought, and then have some time for questions. So obviously, ChatGPT dropped in November of 2022. And was the fastest adoption of any tech platform that we've seen in the history of IT. So it caught on like wildfire, and then it led to this progression over the course of 2023 that was that ushered in a whole lot of tech, and also from an enterprise perspective, what we saw was there was a lot of concern, and there were some serious, like some significant risks, and those concerns were valid when it came to implementation. So back in quarter one, everybody started using ChatGPT and understanding what the capability looked like. OpenAI introduced ChatGPT 4, which leveled things up from a cognitive perspective. Anthropic came into the system, or into the ecosystem, and so did Google with their Claude 2 and Bard products, which brought some competition into the space, and some other groups to focus on the generative LLM space. And then in quarter 2, it was just like this. Quarter 1 started it, but in quarter 2, it just exploded. And it felt like everything generative that had been in R&D for the past 5 years just got rushed into the market in a complete panic to make sure that everybody was like in theater with their product. And amazing marketing, public affairs announcements and releases. But at that point, a lot of the stuff seemed extremely cherry picked, and there was a lot of glitch. And the other thing that was really interesting in second quarter was, yes, I hit put here, like, students just cheated their ass off on their term papers at the end of the quarter 2 college term, which you saw in the usage of these things, but also really brought into the forefront some of the capability that was there. And in the younger generation, really like had this huge adoption wave that came in and actually helped to promote the technology. And then in quarter 2, we also had the famous lawyer who got disbarred for hallucinating a bunch of court cases. And I think that was one of I put that in there because I think that was one of the really like transformative cases where you saw real problems come in with the hallucination issue. And from our perspective, when you talk about enterprise implementations, it really kind of cooled everybody's jets of like, oh, wait, this can be really dangerous. We got into quarter 3, and in July of last year, I called peak hype. It's like everything was AI. There were ridiculous companies making ridiculous raises to put in every kind of AI technology that was imaginable on just an idea. And it was really the top of the hype cycle. Llama 2 was released, which up until that point, we hadn't seen. And we'd worked with the open source pre-trained large language models with very limited quality results. But in quarter 3, Llama 2 came out, and that was kind of like the first really useful pre-trained LLM that came into the space. And so that kind of like really opened up the open source side of things and the idea of actually running private LLMs. And we can talk a little bit about that later. And DALL-E 3 was released, which got like the mixture of language and image generation, which was really interesting. And then importantly, for what we're going to talk about today, was RAG implementations started to mature and popularize. Now, if you're not familiar with the RAG term, that stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And this is exciting because this is kind of like the key to enterprise large language model usage, because the way the system works is it can constrain the models to specific data sets and avoid hallucinations. And we'll show a little bit of that when we get into the software. So in quarter 4, we felt the AI exhale. So things kind of like settled down a little bit. We saw some interesting releases from OpenAI with ChatGPT 4 Turbo and Claude 2.1, which introduced a 200K context window. I'll talk a little bit about context windows as well as you think about these things. But this is when like the trustworthy systems really started to emerge. So I'm going to go ahead and end the slideshow with that, and we will. I'm going to share my screen so we can take a look at some software and talk a little bit more about where the technology is today. Okay. So what I'm bringing up is actually one of our products. It's conversational interface. And the way this works is on this retrieval augmented generation system. And I wanted to show this because I think this is important as everybody starts to think about ways that AI can enable their business. This is going to be a fundamental tenet. There's two parts to where the maturity of AI has come at this point in time. First is this RAG implementation has created really trustworthy systems. And secondly, the idea of AI agents is quickly coming online. There's a lot of commercial consumer space technology that's coming online. Some of it is a little scary because what the agents are doing is actually connecting through APIs on the back end of things and allowing the models to take action based on your instructions. Obviously, the trustworthiness of the system becomes paramount at this level. And when you talk about generalized consumer systems, like some of the beta systems that you're seeing coming on the market first quarter this year, um, there's some distance to go because these are generalized and the point of them is to kind of do everything. But what's nice about these retrieval augmented systems is that they can be constrained down to specific enterprise use cases, which shrinks the problem. And then these types of systems can be connected to APIs to actually like take actions that are specific and constrained as well. So there's a limited number of actions they can take, and it's all within your particular organization's control. And that allows you to hook AI up to existing business systems or create new automations in Zapier or Power Automate, UiPath, or any other myriad of tools out there, so that you can start to bring things all together, as well as the API layers that your existing systems have. But as we get in, we can talk more about this when we get into your questions. I'll show you a little bit about how this works. So what I'm going to do here is take you through our demo system. So banking software is something that we specialize in. So what I've created here is our first nearly human bank. And what this does is it runs off of our our own fictitious banking policy documents. And it allows your user to go in, and this, you can imagine if I were a teller at a bank, and I needed instruction on anything about that bank, I could simply log into the system and ask my questions. As a matter of fact, we're actually implemented with this system at Link Bank right here in the area, and so they're using the system. So what's interesting about this is I'll take you in to give you an idea how this works. And because this is a custom system, this is already set up so that when I log in here, it knows that I am an employee of the first nearly human bank, and it has some context around what my needs might look like, as well as the data that's trained on. So unlike a ChatGPT, I don't have to like tell it all the details. I can just go in and say and ask it a question, and it'll know that I'm talking about. So I'm going to say, what are the branches at the bank? I don't have to tell it what bank or what I'm doing. And our theoretical bank here is located in the Manhattan area. And it comes back and it says, okay, here's the 10 branches. And so each one of the villages in Manhattan has a branch located there. So that's great. So if I look at this, I say, maybe I work at the Tribeca branch, and I need to know when is cash delivered. Tribeca. And it's going to come back and it says it's delivered every Tuesday at 5 p.m. So what this is doing is, in the background, we have a retrieval system, and it's going out against the information that we've trained it with, and it's pulling in bits and pieces of this information. And then what it's doing is it's loading that information into the context window of the large language model. And what we're using here is actually Azure OpenAI services. So that is a secure Azure implementation of the OpenAI models, which essentially gives us the access to ChatGPT, but in a contained, secure environment where there's no worry about going out to the security of OpenAI specific endpoints, or the risk of having our information included in future retrainings. So because we're actually working off of our own data set here, one of the interesting things that the retrieval augmented generation allows for you to do is actually cite your sources. So if you go in here and you can see the actual specifics of the document and the section of the document that's being pulled in order to produce this answer. And because we have access to all of this, I can click on this and actually see in the policy document where the data is coming from. So right here, it shows this is actually a table of data that the system was able to ingest and understand so that it could look up the delivery schedule for Tribeca and let me know that it's coming at Tuesday at 5 p.m. Now, if I didn't actually go out to the document because I was just conversing with the system, I could say, oh, this is great. Like, this is going to come, the cash order is Tuesday. The order cutoff is actually at 12. And this is interesting because it's able to bring that information in and provide the details that someone would need. So one of the things you can look at, and let me check. This is actually remembering the conversation that we're having, right? So if you see here, because of the way it builds up this information and remembers the conversation, I don't have to tell it that I'm looking for a branch or any of this information. It's remembering the questions that I asked previously. It will allow you to basically continue your conversation and actually change context to a limit. If you get too far into it, that you can start to see things change. And so you have the option to either ask it a different question or start a new conversation. So what I'm going to do right now is ask it about something that I know I haven't trained it on. So this has teller operations and cash operations in there. I'm going to ask it, how do I issue a line of credit? And it's going to come back. And it's going to specifically tell me that there's no information about this and that I need to get in touch with the operations center. And this is important because if you try something like this on ChatGPT or any of the other large language models, you'll find that it will happily cook an answer for you that sounds extremely intelligible, professional, and confident, and it has nothing to do with anything within your organization. So this is part of where the quality is leveled up with the models, because you're actually able to turn the temperature down and instruct it not to answer unless it's specific to something in its context window. And so this is part of the special sauce that's now making these ready to go into the enterprise space and actually do work for you without misleading employees or stakeholders in the system. So one last thing that I'll show here is multimodal capability, and this is something that is relatively unique to our retrieval system. As you guys are looking at the AI that's out there, if you're looking at RAG implementations and how that might work within your organization, there's a lot of stuff out there. But I will say that the weak link in this whole system is actually the retrieval part of it. And so we put a lot of work into the retrieval side of things to optimize that so that it's a useful, reliable system. I'm going to ask it, how do I perform a reconciliation? And this is going to show an interesting bit of capability that we've got here. So here is the instructions on how I perform the reconciliation. And what we're actually able to do here is surface a screenshot right from the document that shows the reconciliation form that is referenced in the instructions. This is really nice if you've got screenshots, the things associated with your process. It can surface right through the interface, and you don't have to have the person go drill into the document. And if we look at it, you can see how it was actually formatted in the policy document, but there's no need to dig through this. It just simply comes up in the chat. So behind the scenes here, what we've done to enable all of this is actually create a machine learning pipeline and data system. And so I'll let you see under the hood really quickly here before I break for some questions. This allows you to manage multiple models behind the scenes. Right now, I'm working with the Nearly Human Bank chat. This gives you control over your models. You can see I have one deploying right now, which is actually a restaurant franchise chat to allow you to ask, if you had franchise policies, procedures, information, you can ask questions about that. But you can see you can deploy and undeploy various different models. And this would allow an organization to have various models for different use cases, which lets you tune each one individually for the specific use cases inside of your organization. These models can call one another, or they can call out. Everything is running on a microservices platform. They can call out to other APIs and take actions as well. It provides you the ability to manage your data with a drag and drop system. And then the great thing about this is that your subject matter experts can actually see from the back end in real time all of the conversations that are happening currently and in history. And if I scroll down here, you'll see if I'm in here as myself, I can see my own conversations. But if I look at these, I can actually interject and call or chat with someone if I see something going on that I want to weigh in on. Everyone in the system has the ability to like or dislike an issue and then create an annotation on there so that when the system retrains, you can see if there's been an issue and what needs to be done in order to correct it. And then the idea here is that you have a continuous improvement system that allows you to see where the model was unable to answer questions that came in and add data so that next time it can see where it got things wrong or could be improved and make those changes for the next iteration. And then retrain this thing on a weekly, monthly, daily basis, depending on the velocity of your changes and how much you need to have out to your users. So that is a really brief introduction into some of the technology that we're using right now in the space. And I hope that kind of like gives you an idea of like what some of the capability is available, like no kidding, boots on the ground right now. And with that, I will open it up for a few minutes of questions here at the end.
I have a question, Jamison.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things I struggle with is I wanted to consider maybe a chat bot type of thing for the website for customer service to answer questions. I'm not looking for to parse masses of data from the internet and train these large language things. I'm just looking for a narrowly focused data set to the things that are relevant to us and our customers hitting the website. And what are the best tools for something like that where you go in and kind of configure it to answer the questions you care about?
These retrieval augmented generation tools like what I'm showing you here are absolutely the best tool to do what you're talking about, because you can have it you can allow it to be as simple or as complicated as you like. So this is a very simple implementation. I'm using one policy document and it's extracting information from it automatically and training up that model. So these kind of things these can be implemented really quickly, and you can even see this happen. So if you don't have there's consumer tools out there to do this. If you haven't already subscribed to the ChatGPT Plus, that's a great way. There are assistants out there that you can actually just upload a document to and do something similar here. I will say, if you do that, make sure that you opt out of the data policy that allows them to retrain on your information if there's anything proprietary that that you don't want ending up in a future model. You're not opted out by default, but you can go in and it's a very straightforward process to opt out of that. So that's $20 a month, and it's super worth it because there's a lot of functionality out there that you won't see on the free version, but you do get with the subscribed version. That's a great place to start to kick the tires. And then once you get something that you want actually like tuned specifically to your organization with a little bit more flexibility, then you would want to look towards, maybe a solution like this in order to have full control over what it's doing and tailor it for your customer experience.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jamison, have you used anything around the Copilot Studio with Microsoft?
Yes. And I have high hopes for Copilot. It's better in places than others for sure. I think that I don't want to I don't want to speak badly. I think what we're going to see with Copilot is sort of a typical Microsoft implementation ramp. I think that there's going to be you have to brace for some serious glitch coming out of the gate and be careful with it. Some of the stuff, like I use the Copilot on Windows in the pre-release, and it's underwhelming, but it will get better. The GitHub Copilot for coding is much, much better. And so this stuff is going to start to come online. I mean, I think it's great to like play with the stuff and test it out with your use cases and see, you know, if it meets your need. And I would say that as well for like all of the AI features that are finding their way into other commercial products that you're using. Get in there and try it out. And see what it can do. And your mileage is going to vary a lot in the coming couple of months, and you'll continue to see it get better. This year is going to be really interesting to see how quickly it improves, because just like everything else, you know, the 60 or 70% solution with this stuff is probably there across the board, but getting to that like 95% solution where you feel like it's really trustworthy is actually kind of difficult and takes some time. So the generalized tools are going to continue to struggle with that for a little bit, and we'll see exactly how fast all this comes online. It's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, I know we are working with the Azure Cloud to the enterprise, so we have the data protection. So that's one. So we sort of stayed in that bubble, right? And now we're using the Copilot for chat bots. They seem to work. We're doing the same thing you are. We put all our policy and procedure documents in one place, put the chat bot at it, and then not trained it, but we sort of were able to put guided things, so it brought back, narrowed down, and got faster results for our searches like you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, it just beats the heck out of like the SharePoint haystack, right? And then even once you get, even if you're lucky enough to like make it through the SharePoint search nightmare and find what you're looking for, then you might have like this large document that you've got to like scroll through or navigate it. And it's just, it saves so much time. The velocity of information is so much faster.
Have you done any data? Is all your data in the cloud? So have you tried to do anything where you got a data source that's not in the cloud and join them?
Well, so for us, like cloud storage is so cheap and secure at this point that typically what we do is move those corpuses right into the cloud, because the issue that we have like with doing something locally, and there are hybrid solutions that you can do. The trouble with that is that you actually pay a lot for transfer on cloud systems. So it's almost better to just do it. It's the storage is so much cheaper than the transfer. It's almost better to just like get it in the local storage and then operate with it from there.
Okay.
I certainly don't want to cut anybody off, but I also want to be very mindful of everybody's busy schedule. We're at a good spot. And so I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. Don't fear though. I will get you an email immediately following today's session with the Jamison's contact information. So if questions are percolating or you have a question that we weren't able to get to today, please, please, please do reach out to Jamison. He's a wonderful guy, and is very responsive, to questions and sharing knowledge. So Jamison, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I found it incredibly interesting and eye-opening, right? There's a lot going on in the space. And so to see some real live, here's a real live use case of how this could be implemented, I think is always beneficial as people are trying to navigate what's next in the ever-evolving world.
Yeah, and please do reach out to me. Like I'm a pragmatist, I'm a doer, so I'm really excited about getting all this technology like in theater for all of your businesses and taking advantage of it. There's a lot of advancement and like productivity gains that we're going to see out of the next year. And if there's anything I can do to help you guys navigate that, just reach out. I'd be happy to.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Jamison, and thank you to everybody that attended this morning. I hope that everybody has a wonderful rest of the day today.